All right, welcome to today's market recap. This is Christian Fromert's Tribeca Trade Group, and we'll start with a lot of things to talk about, but we'll start with NVIDIA because they just had earnings a little while ago. So this is good to kind of learn from, in terms of market reaction. So basically everything that came out for NVIDIA that I see here is really, really strong. Third quarter EPS 133 versus 108. They were looking for a range. The revenue 264 versus 236. I mean, that's a really strong revenue number. The dividend was raised by 7%. They're returning 1.225 billion to holders via dividends and buybacks. The fourth quarter looks pretty strong as well, so their guidance is strong as well. So why isn't the stock up? So this is what we analyze in the trading room every day in case you're not a member and you're watching this video. But the name has really run up. And so what I did was I sold premium. I sold some put spreads in this because, if a name hasn't run up as much as it had, but even from 6 months ago, the stock was $100 stock, so it's doubled in the matter of 6 months. So you have to have it. We were talking about it before the numbers came out. I said if they don't have really spectacular numbers, the stock's going to fall. But they did, and they had really good numbers. I would put them close to the category of, I don't know, I wouldn't say spectacular, but very, very good. And the stock's not moving. So yeah, this is something to be learned from. It's not a name. This was not a name to buy in the dip. The only reason why I sold put spreads today is because it did come in from about 212 to 202. So I actually did this this morning when we don't often see NVIDIA down $4 or something today. I put it on right around here. I think on the first green bar of the day. So we'll see how that plays out tomorrow for me. But all in all, for the whole market reaction today, this was timed pretty nice, and it has not been easy to kind of put on some protection. But I took off. I had several hedges on. You could actually go to my trades, and you could see everything that we did today. You could see a lot of different trades. So I bought back. This was a call spread a credit call spread. So essentially a bearish trade, index trade to kind of hedge my overall portfolio. And I sold that for $1.25 a couple weeks ago, and I took it off for 50 cents and a little bit lower today. So really, really nice. And this made perfect sense to me. This is what we talked about yesterday in last night's video, as well as yesterday in the room, is that if there's any chance that this tax bill, which I think is a pretty decent chance, but the more that they're going to talk about this thing not going through, it's going to cause a little bit of short-term volatility. There's no doubt about it, right, with these things, especially when we were sitting at like, we actually hit an 899 in the VIX. So this is to be expected. And if you don't have a little bit of insurance on, you're going to get stung a little bit when this happens, especially in the option world. So the other way to look at this is keep your positionings light if you don't want to put on a couple hedges. But so I was able to take off all my hedges. I actually had some SMH, not short trades, but again, credit call spreads. SMH, the semis ETF, has been on a terrific run. It's been super, super overbought, but down on heavy volume. And I've talked about this in the past. It just took a little while for the trade to work out. But we've seen this in the past when this gets overbought. It just, we actually got a lot more overbought than we have recently and stayed that way for a while. But sure enough, when this SMH gets really overbought, it can come in pretty hard. And for a while, it was the worst performing sector. It did still finish down 2% on the day. But again, look at what it's done recently. So a really good day. So that protection for me, when the market was at the lowest, my P&L was flat. So to see everything recover, I ended up a couple $1,000. I was gonna say hundreds of $1,000s, but that's not right. So a nice P&L day today for a red day for me. And that's, of course, the market dip helping me get out of some bearish index trades that I had on. So really, really nice. Other trades, I actually played Qs today. So I actually went long the Qs for 37 cents, and I think I took them off at. So I don't know if I can do a ton of day trading, but when there's opportunity, I will day trade. We took a target in Oxy. I also put on an IYR trade that I think I doubled my money on as well in that trade today. Here's the short trade that I got out of for nice profits. I did put on anytime the VIX spikes up like that, I will put on a credit VXX trade. So I did that. What else? Then energy was very strong today. That dipped a little bit with the market, but nice to see that. I got long XOP last Friday. So I think this is what was Friday? I think it was this day. Was it the first or the third? Was it? Yeah, I guess it's the third. So I got long XOP and I took 3 targets on Monday, and then I added some back yesterday, and I was able to take a target on that. So, nice kind of scalping around the price action. Again, when you take off 3/4 of your trade, I'm like, hey, well, I would still like to be in XOP for a little bit longer than this big move. But when you have some like a huge candle like this, sometimes it's wise to take a little profit so you could always reload. So that's the oil and gas ETF. Crude did end up on the day slightly, so some good action there. One name that caught my attention today was Exxon. Exxon had a nice move today, still grinding higher. So that group did very well today. Retail also did very good. I think that was on the back of Macy's. So nice bounce. Did not get into value. That's your resistance. I forgot to talk about the major indices. So why I got long Qs, by the way, if you look at the hourly chart, either there's something like a signal on the 5-minute bar, or if there's something that I can find on the 1 hour bar. So look at what we did here. So I noticed this. I actually sent it out on Twitter that the Qs had that support of 152.30, and that held. We briefly got into the value area for the week, but we held it pretty nicely. And again, so coming up with levels and not just picking things out of a hat and saying, hey, I'm going to go long here just because there's a dip. I like to do this versus levels. I see a lot of novice traders who will just buy things just because they're down, and end up, it could be there's a lot more downside in that particular name. So you have to have a level to trade against. I talked that another example about that is Celgene. A couple weeks ago, Celgene got beat up really bad, went all the way down to $97. But I looked at the weekly chart and said, hey, there's a really nice level of support here at about 97.40, call it 97.50. And since then, it's been holding nice. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the line in the sand and price is never going to violate that. But if you've got a pretty firm level, it's better than just saying, hey, I'm just going to buy here just because the stock's down. So we did that today with the Qs. I thought SMH, I didn't trade SMH to the long side, but if you go to the 5-minute bar, there was a couple things here that SMH hit. These purple lines, these VPOCs, notice there's nothing below it. So it went out and hit these targets where there has been previous high volume before, and a reversal. So really catching some nice things in the trading room, and I think helping some traders out. Just to kind of go over some option activity for the day, I think I went over most of my trades. What else did I do? I started a position in EMR today. Really like this move back in EMR. This is a pretty high quality name in the industrial space, and it's gone down based on the fact that they're going after another company. But where do they fall down to? Right to the 200-day moving average, and a call buyer comes in EMR. So pretty cheap play. You could choose a different strike. This is the 65 strike, which is looking for a decent recovery here within the next couple weeks. But I like the support in EMR. Really nice looking play. Just to go over a couple other names that we saw, ESV 31,000. So it's kind of the same thing that we've been seeing all week long. A lot of the offshore drilling names, as well as other energy names, oil service names, anything in energy has been seeing call buying. So you have to kind of pick and choose which one you're going to take. But ESV was the one of the day, I would say, for energy. Just to kind of let you know how things kind of work in a trading room when we have a little bit of volatility, and this is the service that I provide to members, is I will read the tape. And it's actually a lot easier than you think it is, for whether or not, if you think there's going to be more downside. If nobody comes in and buys anything in terms of calls, we're probably going to have a little bit more downside. But when they start buying Alibaba, and when they start buying a little bit of JD.com, when they start buying Apple, and they start taking shots at different things on the dip, it could be that the bottom is close to being in. When they keep buying puts after puts, like index puts, usually you've got a little bit more downside. But that was the one thing that we noticed, even though the market took that second leg lower, around 10 or 11 o'clock this morning. There wasn't really that much put buying going on. And I kept checking. So it's a really good indicator just to see what people are doing on the tape with option flow. So I do this periodically. It's the same the same game plan that we have whenever we get volatility. We'll see if they start buying the dip or not, and we've done very well with picking up on that. So we continue to do that, and again, that's the service that I provide. I will let you know in the trading room whether or not it's very, very quiet in terms of option activity, or if people are buying the dip, which it kind of felt people were doing that in select names today. A couple other names that we saw some option activity in. Wells Fargo, real nice trade in Wells Fargo that went up. This one I think you want to look at dividend adjusted. It makes a little bit more sense. But they did this a couple months ago in Wells Fargo, and they bought huge, and it really worked out well. I think they bought like a big block of calls down here, and the name reversed very soon thereafter and went higher. So you got a big pullback in Wells Fargo down to the 200-day moving average, and they went in and they bought monster calls out in September. Looks like they did some March spreads as well, but the trade that I'm referring to is this one, September 52.5 calls. These are in the money. So nice. I mean, look at the premium here, $1 million of premium. So no small trade. So somebody taking their shot. And it's just like we saw a couple months ago. They went out. I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been January calls that they purchased, January 2018 calls. The last time that we saw the dip buying in Wells Fargo, that worked really well. Maxim I also have highlighted. So somebody came into this name. This name's been on a tear. This little semi name, but coming into some support, and that's where they bought the calls today. Again, this was a nice little trade. MXIM. And this was a nice $300,000 trade for a small cap semiconductor name. Those were the February 50 calls that were purchased for 570. So again, nice small contract size, but look at what they're doing. They went in the money. And that's how sometimes we've been seeing these trades go up. So thanks for watching today's video. If you're interested in this, again, one of the services, as well as many services that we provide at Tribeca Trade Group, but is reading the tape when we have really the volatile days. And I think that really helps traders out to see what exactly they're buying, if they're buying anything, or if they're really running for the hills, which is not really what they did today. So you can email me again for a couple-day trial. It's cfromhertz@gmail.com. First initial and then last name, FROMHERTZ. Happy to give you a trial. I think most people who have taken me up on trials so far have been very happy and have actually signed up as customers. So check it out. And thanks for watching the video. Have a great night.